Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome to a new video of my channel. Thank you for stopping by. So in this video today, we are going to go into our modeling tools. These modeling tools are going to be exactly the same that you will use for video games and movies. These are the very basic lessons. So this is for beginners, like anybody who has no experience, who has never opened Maya. This video is for you. This is a video where I'm gonna show you what buttons do, what different sections do, what different selections do. Yeah, so if you have experience with Maya, you know all this already. This might not be for you. If you're completely new and don't know anything about Maya, don't know their UI, don't know their tools, its tools, this is for you. All right, so let's get started first. So let me point out right here, this right here is your UI, your user interface. When you first open Maya, right here on the right hand side in the right corner, you'll see a workspace menu. It's a drop-down menu. When I started using Maya, they didn't have this before. This is super awesome. If you are experienced with Photoshop, you know what this is. So for Maya though, when you first open the software, it'll start you on modeling standard menu, right? I don't really worry too much about this in my experience, in my workflow, because like I said, they didn't have this when I started using Maya, so I don't really worry about this. But if you are somebody that does want to use it, let me just show you what the options are. So very first in workspace is going to be general. This is a general workspace where you can basically have a little bit of everything, right? You'll have your poly modeling, your sculpting tools, your rigging tools, your animation tools, your rendering tools, your VFX, so on and so forth, right? Then when you create a model, right, in the minute you select it, you'll see the attributes, this is called the channel box layer editor. So this is going to give you the information on translate, rotate, and scale. Translate basically is the move tool, where it's the object located in the grid, on the grid. Scale is how big the item is in terms of its original size, which will be 0, right? And of course, rotate rotates the item, and it tells you how much to rotate in it, if it's negative number or if it's a positive number, right? So also you can select the actual attribute, the actual translate X. So that means that will move on the X axis. If you ever taken any geometry, I don't know if you remember in school, you know that you get the Y X axis, Y X. Well, in Maya you get those two, but then you get Z, which is depth, right? That's the difference. And also you work with negative numbers in both the Y and the X axis. All right. So yeah, you can click, let's say, translate X, and the middle mouse button, it will translate it for you. It will move it that way, just on the X axis, which is helpful. I don't use it very much, but it is helpful. Every time I want to go back to my previous move, let's say, I just press Z. Z will go back, will undo and get you back to your previous move. So then you have modeling standard. So that's gonna just give you your modeling tools. You can see up here you got your curves and surfaces, your modeling poly tools, your sculpting. You still get some rigging and stuff like that. Then we have the expert mode. Expert mode is what I use. It didn't used to be called that when I did it. So basically, it's full screen. Well, you still have these options up here, and the reason why you do have those options is for you to be able to grab your modeling tools, right? To be able to work on it. The way I access that screen without having to click on this drop-down menu, and the way I work is with the shortcut Control Spacebar. I'm on full screen view mode. All right, not to get confused with full screen mode in Photoshop. This one you still have some of the menus and UI showing here and on the sides, right? So if you want to get out of it, you can either, of course, pick another one from here, right? Or just do Control Space, and there you go. Control Space, Control Space. All right, let's move on. So then you have your sculpting menu. I don't use this very much. Maya does have sculpting tools. Do I recommend that you use them? No, really. If you're gonna sculpt, if you're gonna do some organic modeling, or you're going to do some details for like leather or clothing and stuff like that, things that need wrinkles or wear and tear, something that is not hard surface and it needs more like an organic feel to it, use ZBrush. I'll put the link down below on this video for those who don't know what ZBrush is, and I'll also put some links for some great channels, YouTube channels that you can learn ZBrush, and also Nomad Workshop, which is amazing videos, so you can learn ZBrush there. Nomad Workshop is not for free. It's $50 a month. It's a great school in LA. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just love them because I've learned a lot from their videos too. Something that's new too here is the post sculpting tool. Don't even know what these menus do, to be honest with you. I've never seen anybody use it. All the videos that I've looked, I'm sure there's somebody using this out there, otherwise they wouldn't make it. It is called the post sculpting. Create post interpolator. I imagine it helps you pose characters, but you can do the same thing in ZBrush. Then UV editing, which is really cool. I do a version of this myself. Like I said, I've never had this drop-down menus, never used them, but kind of do a version of this myself. I just do it on a different way. Like I'll show you real quick. Let me go back to the general. So I'll go to UV editor, right? You get the window and plaster right here. I usually will hide this, not using, and then just scale it. Kind of what you see here, of course. Let me close it real quick. Yeah, kind of what you will see here. Right, same thing. If you don't want that, just click on it. Okay, this is great for people that only using a monitor. One monitor, so you save space. My monitor is 27 inches. I only use one. I'm planning to get another one, but as for right now, it works great for me. And then you'll see all the menus. Xgen, we're talking about, grass, fur, feathers, scales, rocks, and more. I've never used this tool again myself. I'm not an expert on groom or hair and fur or feathers. It's something that actually I'm going to look into 2023 to get better at. And as I get better at those areas of 3D, I'll share it with you, and I'll make sure that you all have that information as well. So yeah, then we have rigging. In the previous video, which I'll link at the end of this video, I explained that Maya can also rig and create rigs for different models, characters, and more. When you hear about the word rigging, it usually goes hand in hand with character creation, because they do need a rig to be animated. So rigging is the creation of a joints and basically a skeleton or a character or a 3D model. So then it can, the rigger can create tools, can create controllers around those joints for the animator to use. Then we have animation tools, right? Animation window, workspace. Your timeline is right here. I'm not an animator. In school, I had to do some animation projects just to be well-rounded. To be honest, this whole area and workspace was redesigned since the last time I animated anything. If you are an animator, check out Norman Workshop. They have great animation videos there. Then something that I do is rendering. So we have the rendering window. This is pretty nice, actually. Sometimes I don't use it this way because, again, I only have one screen. So I like to be able to have a screen for my render window. This is pretty cool. You know, right here you have you attribute editors. You can open up, you can close them. You have your render settings. We'll go over this in a later lesson. But basically, this is how you set up your renders to be exporter, what type of file you want to export, what camera you want to render, what's your resolution. You know, if you're gonna render something 4K, you can do it right here. You know, are you gonna use that render for printing, or it's just gonna be a digital use? You can do it right here. You can change it right here. Arnold renderer is what we're going to be using. These are going to be the different maps that you can render, and the numbers are the amount of resolution that you want those different maps to have, right? The higher the number, the more passes that render is going to have on that map. But we'll get into that in later lessons, because rendering, setting up all these maps right here, these sampling maps, setting up the AOVs, all that, it requires more time and more dedicated group of videos to go over that. To be honest, just an overview of the window. Here on your left hand side, you got the render setup, which is really cool. You can create different folders, kind of like a little bit kind of like Photoshop, where you can render different elements of a scene. If you have an environment, to be rendered into different plates, so then you can edit those in Photoshop, Nuke, Adobe After Effects. So you can take those plates, those renders, and then you have a little more control of that, which some artists use. Some other ones actually don't. Some they use something called, like here on the right hand side, crypto asset or material and objects. There's three right here. Again, we'll go over those in more detail. So some artists would like to just render everything and actually bake these AOVs, get these AOVs available for them, because then you can use that in the post editing to tweak and edit individual parts of a scene. So you have more options here in AOVs too as well. Okay, so rendering expert, it's a different window. It's just kind of like the same thing, just more open. As you can see, it's not so busy with everything. Basically, you could just go ahead and come right over here with the little to the display render settings. Click on it, set up your render settings, set up your sampling numbers, set up your system if you want. If you want to do GPU rendering, CPU rendering, I do CPU rendering because that's Arnold's bread and butter. Everything else, I don't really move it at all. And the AOVs, you set this up when you're ready to render, close the window, and you can just have a bigger screen to work with. Again, I don't do that. I don't use these windows. I use the full screen, right? I just go full screen all done. That's my default. And on full screen, I can always access render settings. Yep. And I can do that here. And this is the most important part. For rendering, this is the most important thing that you can do. To be honest, call me old school. There's probably people here, if they're watching this and they probably have a different workflow, might be like, hey, this is that's old school. We don't do that anymore. It works out for me, and I get really good renders out of my work, which I'm really happy and proud of. Let's move on. Let's see. Then right here, these are things that I never use. Mesh. I wouldn't even begin to be able to teach you anything here. I will have to learn myself everything. But basically, this is all has to do with VFX, dynamics, motion graphics. Maya has a big Bifrost fluids menu. Don't know how to use it either. But if you're familiar with Houdini, another VFX program, so this is what that is all about. Anyways, let's keep moving. All right, so that is a quick overview of the UI of the workspaces, basically. So let's go back to our modeling standard. We'll leave it there just for the sake of it. So let me go over over the menus up here really quick. We're going to talk about modeling. I'll talk about files and edit in a little bit, but let me just go through the modeling tools and everything. Let's go ahead and delete this item by clicking delete. Let's go up here to create. NURB primitives is something that I don't use at all. What people use the most are polygon primitives, right? These are your base objects that you're gonna model with. Usually, most artists are gonna find themselves working with cubes, plane, and cylinder. Those are gonna be the most used. You can use, I use pipe sometimes, but not that often. Everything else is useful, but most artists are gonna be using planes, cubes, cylinders, and plane, cones, cylinders, and cubes. And let's go ahead and create a cube right here. So right off the bat, you're gonna have a cube in the middle. It is 1 by 1 by 1. You can see it right here. It gives you the measurements right away. Oh, and we are working in inches. So if you want to set yours up differently, you go click on Windows, setting preferences, and we're gonna go to settings. And here, working units in centimeters. So I'm gonna change that. I like to work inches and feet and foot. That's what I like. I usually start in inches. If I'm building a city, I switch to foot. Just when I'm working on buildings and stuff like that, foot is easier for me to do bigger models. So for anything though smaller, I do inches. It changes the grid. I don't know if you saw that. Let me do it again. So meters, look at the squares, inches, they got smaller. So let's go ahead and save it. So as you can see now, this changed. The cube is not quite an inch anymore. It's not quite 1 by 1 by 1, but we can change that by selecting all of this at once if I can. Okay, it's not letting me, so 1 by 1. Yep, now it is 1 by 1 by 1. Okay. So, we created a cube. Let's go ahead and create a cylinder. There's your cylinder right there. All right, let's put it aside. Okay, next we have our plane. Let's do our plane. So you can see it's just a regular good old plane. One thing I want to point out here with the plane, because and with each and any other object though, click on it. If you have open your channel box / layer editor, down here you see the shape inputs polyplane 1. So you see the subdivisions width and height right here. That can be changed. Usually I wouldn't start my project with such a dense plane. I would probably lower it to 4 or even 2 to start modeling, to start doing what's called a plane modeling. There's two very common workflows when you model in Maya. It's called the cube modeling or box modeling and plane modeling. So when you do that, you wanna start as low as you can on your poly count. What is poly count? Is the resolution of how heavy these objects are. Let me see if I can find that menu so you can see the numbers and information here on the left hand side of our screen. So that way, I don't usually use that anymore. I usually visually can actually tell how much geometry and resolution I'm using. Especially the more you do it, the more you get used to keeping things clean in terms of geometry and poly count. And we'll go into that because after we go through all these modeling tools, we're gonna start our project. And then when we finish our project, we UV that project. We go through the UV tools, we UV that object, and then we move forward from there. So let me see if I can find that real quick. I don't use it anymore. So all right, so let's continue here. So yeah, it's right here. You go to display, heads up display, and we're gonna go down to poly count. So this way we'll have a poly count right here on the left hand side corner of our working space. And like I said, I don't use it, that's why it wasn't there. I'm basically now so used to looking at my geometry and know that it's clean, there's not clean, and I'm not modeling for video games. So if you're doing a prop object for a video game and you have a poly count limit, meaning that you have just a certain amount of polys that you can use for that, you might want to use that, right? So this is what you want to keep an eye on: how many faces, how many tries, how many vertices. That's something that your studio, your supervisor will give you. Will tell you, hey, this is how many tries your object needs to have, or how many faces, and keep below that or keep right at it. And usually, if you are a really good modeler, you're usually really good at keeping yourself under a limit. But if you work with VFX and you have a huge asset, usually if they give you a number, it will be astronomically big in terms of a video game model. So yeah, that's how you get a display on your screen. Display, heads up display, polygon. All right. So what is the other one? The fourth object that we use, primitive that we use in Maya. So that's going to be oh no, this three. Sorry. Yeah, sometimes you may use the sphere for some projects. I usually don't. These are my 3 to go. If I do want a sphere, because I'm crazy, I like to keep my square. So let me show you this real quick. Primitive sphere. Sphere is beautiful. It's round. What I don't like though is this point. Everything points to the middle here, and don't really like that sometimes. There's some occasions that I will use it that don't care, but I don't like how it comes into a point and have all these triangles right here. I like to keep everything square. So what I usually do, I take a square, I go to mesh and smooth it. Nope, didn't click it, and smooth it. And again, you can either divisions, you can do a 2 here, so that means it will be smooth twice, and I work with that. Start working with that. If I do want it to be more round for some reason, this will be just perfect for anybody that wants to do anything that's a circular form, and you want a sphere. This should be sufficient. It's low on tries, poly count is low. You can work with this, but if for some reason you need it higher, you can change the number here, or let's go back, or you can just go ahead and press G. G is a shortcut that would use the previous tool. For example, let's go Z, 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 Z to the square, right? Let's say we'll keep it. We select it, mesh. We go smooth. If you don't want to use that, and you don't want to go to the menu here again, too many clicks, just press G, and Z to undo. So that's how I do the circles usually. To me, I find it so much easier to do. It keeps my geometry cleaner, and the cylinder, and like I said, the sphere. What I don't like is everything pointing right in the middle here and at the bottom as well. All right, so those are the basic primitives, polygon primitives that are used, not only me, that people in general in the industry will use to start modeling. Another thing here that you can, NURB primitives, I've never used them. I've never seen anybody really using them much back in the days. I saw people using the curve tools on NURBs to model cars, but honestly, everything is on the polygon primitives. Everything follows into that. So these menus are here because obviously there's somebody out there using them. I use curve tools to do cables, ropes, and stuff like that. But now I do use it to get my geometry direction right. If I want the rope to look a certain way, I want the cable to wrap a certain way, I usually do that in combination with the sweep mesh. We'll get into that in other videos. But this video though, let me go ahead and close with just you basic move, scale, and rotation tools, which are basic for any modeler out there or anybody wanting to start their career. You have to be able to know this by heart, these shortcuts, because it will save you time. You can go. So let's go ahead and see this, right? So let me select this baby right here real quick. All right, so you can go ahead, and on the left hand side you have translate, right? Move tool. You have rotation, the rotation tool. You have the scale tool, right? Cool. You have these menus here, but like I said, in my case that doesn't work for me because I work on full screen view mode all the time, and I'm not going to be going back and forth just to select those tools. It takes too much time. So what I do instead, the shortcuts for this are select the item. Q is to make the tool invisible, so there's no tool. Why do we use that? If you wanna not have something on top of your model, you just wanna look at it, press Q. W is your translate tool, right? E is your rotate tool. This is where it gets tricky, right? E, and R is your scale tool. So get those. Q is no tool or makes the tool invisible. W, translate. E, rotate. R, scale. Those 4 keys right there will make your life a lot easier, completely, and it will save you a lot of time. so you don't have to rely on going on this menu right here. So just to recap, real quick, we got the workspaces, different workspaces for Maya. Like I said, I don't really use any of this. I just do control space, full screen mode. We have our create menu where you create your polygons, where you usually most likely will only be using a cube, a plane, and a cylinder to do most of your modeling. Two types of modeling that we're gonna get into later on is a plane modeling style or a box modeling style. I do plane modeling style most of the time. Sometimes I use box modeling. It depends on what you're gonna do, what you need to do. We went over the QWER shortcuts, and yeah, let me leave you though, for those who want to keep maybe you want to start playing around a actual modeling tool that we didn't get to today, but next week we will. Let's select let's get rid of this. Select this guy right here. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to go to mesh tools, insert H tool, option box, right? So here I'm going to select multiple H loops. What does this tool do? It'll add H loops to my model. 2, because that's what indicated for them to do. All right, so I always like to reset the tool back to 1 and close the window. Now, as you can see the mouse cursor, it looks different. That means that the tool is still activated. So if you don't want it, you don't want to click something by accident and add a H loop. An H loop is that loop that you see highlighted. It's called that H that you see highlighted that goes around the whole model. That's an H loop. Actually, we forgot to put a couple H loops here. I'm just gonna do it like this. Not gonna go back to that. Anyways, so you go like that. You still activated. So what you do? Press Q. It'll go back to just yours regular non-tool to your selection tool. Select it. Go W. You could go up. Now, this is what I want to do. We're gonna select all faces, right? So, real quick, this mode right here, this green mode, is called the object mode, right? This other one that we're gonna get in right now is called the face mode. All right, we'll get into like the different modes and the different faces, edges, and vertex, and in the next video. But this, the object mode, your face mode. What are faces? Are the faces of the geometry. See, your geometry is the cube, and these are the faces. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna click, drag, select all the faces of this cube. This is super cool. Well, let me see. Let me explain this real quick. Let's select one face. Let's go to edit mesh menu, and we're gonna select. I use extrude. Sorry, I use shortcuts all the time, so sometimes I miss them on the menu. But extrude. What does extrude do? Extrude tool does is self-explanatory, I think, on the name. It extrudes different areas of a model, a face, mostly a face. You can use it for an edge, but I wouldn't recommend it. G to repeat the previous tool. Cool, right? Right, super cool. Okay, let's Z to undo to that point, and you may see. Let me go ahead G again to go back to the previous tool. This icon right here. This is a switch tool. Right now it doesn't make much of a difference, but if you see it here, you're gonna extrude on the Z axis depth. If you switch this becomes the X axis, right? Right here, right now, it doesn't make much of a difference, but there's going to be different models that you're actually gonna have to switch the tool around. Let's see if we can actually do it here. Let's see how that here. Would that make a difference? Let's see. So it's going in and out like you would think. Oh, there we go. So yeah, that makes a difference. So let's go back. Let's back it up. So you select this face and then you select this other face. You select that face first and then you hold shift to control. Select that other face. Go ahead and press G to go back to your previous modeling tool. If you leave it the way it is right now, this tool is going to pull the faces on opposite sides of the axis, right? If you switch that, both faces are going to travel to the same direction. Does that make sense? It makes more sense the more projects you do. Something cool about the extrude tool, we're gonna select all this right now. We're gonna go to edit mesh, extrude. If you do this right now the way it is and you click out here, so this by default it's going to go to your translate or move tool when you do extrude. By clicking here, I will go to my scale tool, and by clicking the outer rim is my rotate tool. So right now I want to show you this with the translate tool. All right, so right now nothing, right? Check this out. You switch that on, nothing. It just makes the cube go up bigger and smaller, right? Well, this menu right here on the right hand side, you see how it says keep facings together? Keep all the faces together, meaning like the faces are gonna extrude equally at the same time to the same direction. You click that off. Look at this. Now we're looking at something totally different, right? But then something's wrong, right? It doesn't look quite right. It doesn't. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's click on that. Let's switch that. And now we're having something cooler. Now we get some cool shapes, right? Now maybe we have something to work with without the faces being on, right? Now we might be able to accomplish a cooler looking tool. Let me see. I feel like we kind of messed up this model a little bit. Let me try it again. Let's see it really quick. All right, so let's try one more time. Extrude. Faces off. See, that's what I wanted to show you. See, you can do so much more with that. And every time you do extrude tool, you go back to keep faces together on, making sure that they're off. And you can keep doing other things like that. And then G to repeat, faces off, scale, or even translate. Let's see if we can do something with the translate. It looks cool. Look at that. Right, so you can start looking into making more interesting shapes. Extrude tool is a very powerful tool. It's something that I use all the time, and everybody in the industry, anybody who does any modeling uses it all the time. Anyways, this is long enough for a video. I think it's 40 minutes. Sorry about that, but hopefully you can watch this in parts, and then in the next video we're gonna go into using extrude again, but we're gonna We're gonna look into the combine tool, fill hole. We're gonna do into the detach tool, the bevel tool, and other duplicate tool, other tools for modeling. Hopefully you enjoy this. This is my first time teaching any of my knowledge, and I'm learning how to do it on a efficient way. If there's anything that you recommend me to change or do, please tell me. I'm an open book. If you say, hey, if you know Maya, say, hey, you forgot about this. This should be something that you should teach at the very beginning of your videos. If you're teaching somebody who doesn't know anything, please let me know. I have the knowledge in my head. But teaching is different. This is my first time teaching, so trying to do my best. So if you find something, if you say, hey, if you change this, might be better, go ahead and let me know. I will take that suggestion, and if I feel and think that it's a good fit for the videos in my channel, I will definitely make that suggestion. I'll make that change and give you credit for that idea. All right, next week we'll continue with this modeling tools reviews, and in about, I would say 3 to 4, in about 3 more videos, will be 3 weeks from today. We'll start our first prop object modeling project, where we're gonna use the tools that we've learned, and it'll be fun. Take care, everybody. Bye.